Okay, so the book I'll be showing you today is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, which you can see on the cover there. If we open it, you can see we have a comments page here about the author and the editor. We have a title page, and then we have the editions page. So, first published in 1925 by Charles Scribner and Sons, this edition was published in 1960 by Penguin and reprinted again in 1999 with an introduction and notes section by Tony Tanner. It was reprinted once more, which is the edition I'm holding in my hand, as part of the Penguin Classics range, which, as you can see on the spine here, Penguin Classics, in 2000. With the introduction and notes, you can see it on the contents page just here, Gatsby in the middle, story. The introduction that they've included in this edition gives Fitzgerald's backstory, and this gives rise essentially to the thought that Gatsby was a work of fact instead of fiction, so more of a comment of Fitzgerald's daily life. The notes section as well provides extra pieces of information about the book, so geographical locations of places they've used in the book, explanations of connotations that are used, and essentially is just there to give extra body to the book. In terms of published editions of Gatsby, this edition is relatively recent, considering it was published originally in 1925, and since then there have been about 400 different varieties of the Gatsby, all with different covers and like lift outs, added bits, taken out bits. My copy, however, falls where the Penguin were releasing the Modern Classics range in 2000, which were a bunch of just black and white covered books. There was a recent surge in publication, however, due to the Baz Luhrmann film Gatsby that had been recently released with that horrific film-related cover, which I hate. Critical reception of the book, when it was first published in 1925, was quite interesting. In between April and October of the first year that it was publicised, it only sold about 20,000 copies. And although that might sound like a lot, it's actually not that much when you consider that Harry Potter can sell probably 20,000 copies in about 9 minutes. It got a lot of commendations from prestigious authors like T.S. Eliot, who was a really famous and amazing poet of the time, but because it wasn't a public commendation, which is what Fitzgerald essentially wanted, he didn't take it as a good sign. Gatsby didn't receive as much commercial success as the previous book that Fitzgerald had written, which was The Beautiful and the Damned. Gatsby got more of a cult following, and Fitzgerald didn't really like that. 1942, however, rolled around, and the Council of Books in Wartime distributed about 155,000 copies to the World War II soldiers who were fighting overseas. And this is essentially what was said to have increased the sales and popularity of the time. And by about 1960, Gatsby was selling around about 50,000 copies per year, which was a lot more than it had sold in that first 6 or so months, and had been proclaimed, as the blurb suggests just here, that it's a classic 20th century American novel. Ephemeral factors, this one has many, considering it is mine. We have rips and tears in the top, just up here, dog-eared pages of my favourite sentences, for example just here. We have notes from my friend who thought it would be hilarious to leave in my book, which states, "Who knew such wonder could come from a sentence," about my favourite sentence just here. It also has a great big line in the spine on that particular page because I use it so often. I originally read it in high school, and I'm pretty sure that it was just my best friend at the time and myself that actually enjoyed reading the book. Gatsby is one of my favourite books for a great deal of reasons, mainly because of how it captures the American dream and just has this amazing parallel between betrayal and wealth in a somewhat extremely fascinating but truly horrific way as well. It's sad reading about Gatsby, who I feel is a real person, and how all of his immoral ways are just, they've rotted him essentially from the inside out. But yeah, this is Gatsby, and he's my favourite, and he lives here in my bookshelf. Thanks!